Hello students, welcome back to our channel CNN Institute. This is Mr. Chari NN, your faculty for IELTS. IELTS speaking test for academic and general training. Speaking part 1, which is 4 to 5 minutes duration, including the examiner's turn, and it carries 3 band. The examiner asks about yourself, your home, work or studies, and other familiar topics. Here the familiar topic is international food. Actually, the examiner may ask you 10 to 12 questions generally from 2 or 3 topics. But here we have one topic, that is international food, and I have prepared 4 answers for 4 questions. Okay? These are very simple but effective. Of course, the questions are latest from IELTS Cambridge Book 19. Okay? The first question, can you find food from many different countries where you live? Why or why not? Yes, of course, I can find food from many countries in Hyderabad, South India, because Hyderabad is an international city. I can find food from China, Thailand, Japan, Italy, Russia, Germany, the US, the UK, the UAE, Vietnam, etc. The second question, how often do you eat typical food from other countries? Why not? The answer, well, I eat Chinese food once a fortnight means 2 weeks, because it's very delicious. Actually, Chinese fast food is quite popular in Hyderabad. Now let's move to the third question and answer. Have you ever tried making food from another country? Why not? The answer, no, I have never. In fact, I don't know much about cooking. I boil rice, that's it. You know, rice is a staple food of South India. And the fourth question and the answer. What food from your country would you recommend to people from other countries and why? Well, I certainly recommend Hyderabad biryani, which is delicious and healthy. Actually, it's a world's famous dish from my city, Hyderabad. Okay, this is the end of part 1. Now let's move to part 2. IELTS part 2, which is 3 to 4 minutes duration, including the examiner's turn, and it carries 3 band. After part 1 is over, the examiner says like this. Okay, now let's move to part 2, and in this part 2, you have to talk about a topic for 1 or 2 minutes, generally 2 minutes. Then the examiner introduces the question, and then the examiner gives you a cue card which contains the question and 4 prompts. Prompts are points. With the help of these 4 prompts and the question, you have to talk for 2 minutes. Okay, of course, the examiner gives you 1 minute, and the examiner gives you a piece of paper and a pencil, and you can make notes if you want. Okay, the topic is describe a law that was introduced in your country and that you thought was a very good idea. This is the question, and you have 4 prompts or points. What the law was, who introduced it, when and why it was introduced, and explain why you thought this law was such a good idea. These are the 4 prompts, and with the help of these 4 points, you can make notes if you want on a piece of paper with pencil. Okay? Here I have prepared the answer. Now listen to me. Now look at the question. The question is, describe a law that was introduced in your country and that you thought was a very good idea. And I use this for starting my talk. I use like this. Now I want to talk about a law that was introduced in my country, and I thought that it was a very good idea. Okay, now the first prompt or point with the answer. What the law was? The explanation. This law was the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act 2017, which covers various provisions related to the driving license, vehicle registrations, traffic regulations, violations, offences, traffic penalties, motor insurance and liabilities. And now the next prompt. Who introduced it? The explanation: the Indian government introduced it in the Indian Parliament after much deliberation with all the stakeholders, including the state governments, experts, and civil society. And now the third point or prompt, with the answer, of course. When and why it was introduced? The explanation: this law was introduced in the Indian Parliament by the Union Government of India in July 2019, and it came into effect on 1st September 2019. Mainly, it was introduced for road safety, good Samaritan protection. Good Samaritan means good people who help in accidents, electronic monitoring and enforcement, online platform recognition, and decreasing accidents by offenders, particularly juvenile ones. Juvenile offenders means crimes committed by children. Juvenile means children. Here, accidents committed by children. Okay? And the last prompt or the point with the answer. And explain why you thought this law was such a good idea. The explanation: I thought that it was a great idea because it could reduce a large number of deaths from accidents on Indian roads by controlling dangerous driving, drunk driving, and all kinds of traffic violations. Further, I believe this law can promote safety norms in my country. Okay, this is the end of part 2, and now let's move to part 3. IELTS speaking part 3, which is 4 to 5 minutes duration, including the examiner's turn, and it carries 3 band. Okay, after part 2 is over, the examiner says like this. Okay, now let's move to part 3. And in part 3, the examiner asks you 10 to 12 questions generally from 2 or 3 topics. The topics and the questions are always related to part 2. Okay, it is in the nature of discussion, abstract discussion. That means the examiner asks you or discuss with you about part 2. Okay, it's an abstract discussion. That means general discussion. So try to elaborate and involve in the discussion. Okay, you need not have any specialist knowledge. Try to answer the questions. Okay, here the first topic is school rules, and the first question in part 3 is, what kinds of rules are common in a school? And the answer: well, pupils are expected to be regular and punctual to school and follow dress codes like wearing school uniforms. Further, they should respect and obey their teachers. Besides, they should maintain discipline in the classroom and do their homework regularly. Now the second question with the answer. How important is it to have rules in a school? And the answer: I think it's essential to have rules in a school to educate pupils and make them the best workforce and citizens of the modern world. Otherwise, they will become too mischievous to deal with them in school and society. And the third question with the answer: what do you recommend should happen if children break school rules? What do you recommend should happen if children break school rules? Okay, the answer: first, I will recommend awareness programs, motivational activities, and punishment. But the punishment shouldn't be the corporal one, which is a punishable offense in India according to Section 17 of the Right to Education Act, RTE 2009. Okay. Now the second topic, working in the legal profession. And the fourth question, Can you suggest why many students decide to study law at university? And the answer, I think the employment opportunities have increased for law professionals worldwide, and the pay is decent for law professionals now. But this wasn't the case in the past. Okay, now let's move to the fifth question with the answer. What are the key personal qualities needed to be a successful lawyer? And the answer, well, I think patience, passion, compassion, persuasion, honesty, and resilience are the vital personal traits of successful lawyers. And the sixth question with the answer, do you agree that working in the legal profession is very stressful? And the answer, like every other profession, the legal profession is very stressful now because they have to compete with many other people, including the seniors. Further, they have to update their knowledge regularly to be successful in their profession. Okay, this is the end of part 3. Please subscribe, share, comment, and like. Thank you. Bye for now.